Hello and welcome to the 120th, maybe, dev update. I've lost track. I tell myself that I'm going to look it up every time, but I keep forgetting. With me today, I have a special guest from the Cardano community, Dumpling. Thanks for joining us. How you doing, Dumpling?
Thank you. Pleasure to be here and shout out to the Ergo community. Always been a big fan and I made content about Ergo in Chinese. Happy to be chatting with you, Andre. Thank you for inviting me.
Fantastic. You know, when you first jumped on, I was like, oh, that's a very nice seashell in your background. And you were like, no, dummy, that's a dumpling.
That's a dumpling. That's a shrimp dumpling, everyone.
Already started off strong here with you. So perfect. All right, well, let's dive into who you are and who you are to the Cardano community and who you are to the crypto community as a whole in general.
Sure. So I did not come to crypto for decentralization or the tech. I came to crypto to make gains in 2021. And I got wrecked, leverage trading Bitcoin and Ethereum because I had no idea what I was doing. I was greedy and stupid. That's how I discovered really shitty YouTube content. That's a catalyst for me to start making real content, content that doesn't mislead people or show anything.
You
So
don't
I
you don't
started
have you
making,
don't have big smiley faces on your YouTube thumbnails.
I call them I have a stroke face. I'm not a fan of having a stroke on my thumbnail. So I
Oh,
started
looks good.
making Cardano content in Chinese, specifically only Cardano. And
Wait,
what do you
why
know?
Cardano? Why Cardano?
That's a good question. So I was coming through CoinMarketCap, looking at coins on the top 10 list, and Cardano seems to be one of the different ones. And it got a lot of flag on Reddit and different social media. And looking into it, I start to realize not all the negative news about it was true. At that time, Catalyst was kickstarting, and I applied to make content in Chinese. Part of part of that was for myself to learn and to share. Part of that is to earn the Catalyst grant, and it just kept going for a few years. After I started doing it for a few months, I got people from Chinese speaking part of the world, like Taiwan, Malaysia. They would call me on Telegram and said, "Can I be involved?" And I was very skeptical. I thought they were scammers. Turns out they're just really interested in the mission, and it really surprised me. As I was saying on Twitter on my post, I did not think Chinese speaking part of the world gave a damn about the mission of Cardano, but there are few, very few compared to the bigger channels in Chinese. I have very few followers compared to them, but the ones that came to watch my videos, they tend to stay and join my community, stay loyally. So today, I have a Chinese community of almost 2,000 people across different chat groups. And that growth is significant. When I first started, there was only one chat group that was barely active. Today, you have people, an SPO from Taiwan, having a very active Telegram group, and also mine, very active, and another one. So I'm very happy with the growth in the Chinese community. Now, for myself, I've been hosting Twitter Spaces for the past few years, got noticed by some big names, got invited to speak offline, such as Blockchain Expo, and most recently at the House of Lords, speaking with some of the industry's leaders, getting to know important people, having worked with Coin Bureau, for example, producing spaces. It has been quite a journey. And for the next step, I'm looking at joining industry advocacy groups such as Stand with Crypto UK, push for more positive impact, especially on policies and legislations for this industry, because I want to make an impact. So that's a short of my story. Got
That's a
from
lot.
leverage trading Bitcoin to where I am today. Quite a
That's a
journey. And
that's a lot to unpack. Let me see. Let's knock that off one at a time. Um, how so you said you came over, you tried to leverage Bitcoin, Ethereum, was it? Bitcoin and Ethereum?
both.
Both. So, of course, that's people looking for gains, as you said in the Chinese community, it's what you interpret as, or what you observe as their number one catalyst for joining crypto. What do you think now? Do you think you're unique in the aspect that you came in, you got wrecked on the two big players, and then you went to something more decentralized like Cardano that has, mission statements and ideas about how crypto should behave and work in a community? Do you think you're one of the few that came over and did that after coming for pure gains? I mean, I know you said you have slow building followers of 2,000 across your groups, but do you still feel you're in the minority in that aspect of it?
I am the minority insofar as in the Chinese landscape of content creators. If you spoke Chinese and you went on to see Chinese crypto Twitter, that's a dumpster fire. And I'm putting it lightly. Literally, people only care about gains. And I'm not saying it to spite any Chinese people. I think it's people have different stages in their journey, and the Chinese speaking one are not at the level of recognizing maybe the value and the importance of concepts such as decentralization, such as governance. We're still at a stage of I'm here solely to make gains, so just give me your 1,000x gems and be done with it. So in that, I am very much alone. I have made very few but very valuable friends in the Chinese content creation world. Sadly, two of them left for various reasons, one of which is they're just fed up with the scams. If you think the English media, crypto mainstream media is bad, then the Chinese one is much, much worse.
Tell me, what do they do differently? Are they like crypto's terrible, crypto's awful, crypto's a scam, or are they like check out the latest shitcoin with a hat?
It will be something along the lines of follow me and I will give you 1,000x
Oh, so
gems to join
influencers, you
my
mean?
paid group.
Okay.
I mean, that's the zeitgeist and the ethos of the Chinese speaking community. And sure, we have come around a little bit. People got burned. We're learning from the last cycle, but still, the foundation is not much better.
Why,
I am
why do you
seeing.
why do you think that is? You think it's due to the culture of how government works in China and what people are expected to follow and maybe not lead and speak out as far as that goes?
So I'm not going to touch on the political side of it.
Okay,
You
fair
can do
enough.
your own
Fair
research on
enough.
that. I think part of the reason, at least economic reason, is Chinese mainland people have very limited access to different investment vehicles that are safe. I would say very, very, very limited. So when they discover crypto, it makes sense. They are here to make gains because that's where they can park their money and make more money. They have a clear goal. In that way, it's good. It's a clear goal. Now, very sadly, that is usually exploited by scammers because of the desperation and thirst for big gains.
Okay, so ease of access in China and limited ability to pull yourselves up from the bootstraps on other tools. So crypto looks very enticing to people there, and it's a shot for them to, I guess, increase their worth. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I can see it. All right, so how do you discuss in your groups? What's your strategy there for in your social groups, to try to bring the that culture around and show people that look, this is something that's not just for financial gain or money printer go burr. This is something that we can use as a governance tool. This is something that we can use to make an impact on other parts of the world, have a global currency, that kind of thing. What's your strategy for trying to kind of push that narrative or make that community realize that it's more than just gains?
So a few things to unpack here. First, I think there's a gradient of how you do things. It's not black and white, only gains versus only idealism. I have to be realistic in the very beginning. Yeah, ADA price pump attracted people. I'm not against that at all. I'm not against people joining this community because they want to have gains. That's a big reason why I am here. However, to retain them, to have the correct community culture, now that's something that requires strategy. So when I started, I did not have a strategy. I was making my videos. People are telling me you should have a chat group, so I have a chat group. People are telling me to do something they want, I did that. I did not have a big plan for that. So in the very beginning, people came because the price was really good. People are excited about ADA. It was quite easy to talk about the ideal side of things.
Right.
People
Yeah.
can make their own connecting the dots, oh, it pumped because it's doing things properly. And somehow they bought into this idea. However, as the bear market came, it was a lot more difficult. I remember there was quite a few difficult weeks in my community. People are saying, who cares about how you're doing things when everything else is pumping? You're not moving. We don't care. And I still kept on doing my weekly Cardano updates. Surprisingly, people are still watching it. I did not even want to look at my view counts or likes because I thought only 5 people cares. But no, more people cared about it. People stayed in the community. There were some noises that were quite distasteful. I had to remove them. But the people that stayed, I'm very happy they're still here. Now they are speaking up more, sharing more of what they think about decentralization, how Cardano is doing things. So didn't start with a strategy, just having an open mind, being okay with people leaving. I believe everyone has their journey. Not everyone lives and breathes Cardano. If they got tired at one point because price was not moving, that's fine. But if they decided to come back later, that's also fine. I welcome them. And I do see people coming around. Some people were very whiny a while ago and they came around and say, you know what, after seeing all those fiasco, maybe this isn't a terrible place to be. It's like, yeah, welcome.
Yeah. What do you think that threshold is to where the investor is just going to keep pumping over on these shit coins versus finally having that realization that you say people do in your chat where they say, maybe maybe there's more to this. Maybe we should invest in something that has some serious fundamentals that can stand the test of time and go from there. Do you see that as there's going to be a subset of people, right, that are never gonna see that, never gonna follow that and do that. But do you have hope for at least your community? I mean, we suffer similar things in all the communities that we're in as well. But what's the outlook for your community as far as that goes? Do you have
So
hope, I guess, pushing forward?
I don't think we can feed on hoping things will go well. And doing the right thing usually is not enough. And that's something I think about a lot for things like Cardano and Ergo. You have strong fundamentals, but why isn't the price moving?
All right, do tell. So that's not enough. Tell more. Keep going.
What I think is in the short term, you can't really predict where the price goes, but in the long term, price eventually go towards the real value of your project in an ideal world. But then the question is, are we in an ideal world? Look at where the industry is now. Look at where the noise is. Look at where people put their trust. A lot of people still trusting so-called big media, big, VCs because they are the smart money. So maybe I'm not being overly pessimistic, but just a possibility. Even if you do all the right things, if you are too ahead of your time, maybe you're not going to succeed. I'm not talking about Cardano or Ergo necessarily. It's just my observation of how things go. And then it's
That's
about surviving until you can wait until the time the industry is in the right
right.
place, the room is in the right temperature, and you can really bloom.
I think one of the big issues with humanity, at least, is and in these situations, is they want to be taken care of. They look for comfort. They look for comfort in knowing that this person with a lot of money is doing this, and maybe they want to be like them. Maybe they want to follow them and do what they do. So they take comfort in that and they do that. So until I think one of the hardest narratives to push in Cardano and Ergo, and I imagine Cardano, is that self-sovereignty of your own bank. That the buck stops with you. You have
I
control of
have a
your
lot to
keys.
say about this.
All right,
And
perfect. So how do you help educate with that narrative and get people to stop being afraid that they're in control and they can broadcast their own transactions. And if they fuck up their wallet, then there's no FDIC to pay them back or insure them at that point. I mean, I'm sure in the future there's going to be crypto wallet insurers or those kind of things from bad actors and that kind of stuff. But still, up until that point, there's no safety net. So how do you deal with that? How do you help push that that narrative and get them away from the comfort of being coddled by a VC chain that makes them feel good?
So before I even go into that, here's a rant. People claim in crypto, people claim to care about self-sovereignty, claim to care about self-custody, claim to care about independent thinking. That's what they say. When you look at their behavior, no one wants to take accountability. Take Catalyst, for example. People are always whining about some bullshit Catalyst proposals, but how many of them actually try to read and understand them? How many of them are relying on the star rating because that's easy? And I can't be too harsh on them because sometimes I make the same mistake. People are lazy. And then we talk about self-custody. Yeah, everyone wants to be their own bank. But when you put the responsibility of the whole account on themselves without any insurance, without the big mama of government to help you out if you screw up, people are scared. So a lot of times I ask myself, are we here yet? How do we communicate this? It is scary to be your own bank. It is scary to be your own self-sovereign individual because you're forced to really take responsibility for yourself. How many people really want to do that?
Yeah, that's a question. Yeah.
But so then what I do, I don't try to push a narrative that, this is superior. I just tell people, for example, there's some exploit, FTX happened. And myself, I made the silly mistake of putting money into Celsius, talking about, being lazy and stupid. I tell these examples to the audience and they can make their own conclusions. So in Chinese, we have a saying is like, if you teach someone something 1,000 times, they maybe don't even learn it. But if something happened to them one time, they'll learn it. That's true. I mean, Celsius happened to me and I learned. I take self-custody much more seriously. So if you were too overly pedantic or overly repeating yourself in lecturing, I don't think people will necessarily listen to you. But if someone came on to the chat group and say, hey, I lost money, here's the story, here's what happened, suddenly people pay attention. So really it's about you having to experience yourself, but come to terms with the fact that not many people, at least currently, will be comfortable with becoming their own self-sovereign individual, self-independent thinker.
All right, so let's take that topic and move it to more globally. You spoke at the House of Lords on Web3 development with representatives from academia and the industry and government. What did you talk about? What were their questions? How far behind are they in any of these thought processes?
I want to preface by saying, at least the UK government, in my impression, they are crypto curious. They are not like, we hate crypto, it's all scam. They are quite curious and usually hosting these kind of either consultations or panels or roundtables. And that's something I'm very fond of, big fan. Now, on that particular meeting, the theme was the development of Web3 and the metaverse. People from academia were sharing their knowledge on, ethics, what kind of paper they are writing, not only focusing on the underlying tech, but also the application and the impacts of the application. And when it came to my turn to speak, I drew attention to the culture. I was saying to everyone in the room, a lot of them were either MPs, researchers, or leaders. I was telling them, don't just pay attention to the tech itself. Don't just pay attention to what companies are using it. Pay attention to the users, the plebs, us, the people. How are we adopting? What kind of culture is emerging? Because when you think about onboarding the next billion people, you're not going to onboard them by giving them blockchain 101 classes. from a technical perspective. But you can by pushing the culture. I mean, look at meme coins. It's so easy to understand. It's so silly, good vibes. People can get behind it. And that's not something to scoff at. I used to, just frown and wrinkle my nose whenever someone says the term meme coin. Was like, you're going to get wrecked and you're silly. And I changed my view on that. And that's because I realized culture is something that we need to pay attention to. And that's not necessarily all the very high-end, classy, elegant culture. It can be as silly as grassroots as it can be, because that's the majority of the people we have.
All right, but with proof of work, at least, well, I guess I won't go into that, but let's take meme tokens. At least with layer ones, it takes a decent amount of work to produce something, to set it up and to do it. So scams on layer ones are going to be, few and far between. With tokens on top of these chains, the ability to scam the users with meme tokens is, there's got to be more scams out there than there are legitimate meme token projects. So the question is, how do you successfully embrace that with a community when the majority of meme tokens are, pump and dump schemes? We've spoken with many market makers in Ergo, and one of the market makers we spoke with gave some very revealing facts about how they successfully launched meme tokens, how they helped to successfully launch them. And essentially they said, I think I've said this on chat before, but I'll say it again for people who didn't see that video. Essentially they said, look, the token will come to us and say, look, here's X amount of USDT, here's X amount of our token. We're going to launch this token on Friday. We're going to airdrop everything to people by Monday. And by Wednesday, we're going to open up the liquidity pairs on Uniswap. But we want you to hold the price at this for 3 days, no matter what. So they do that. The market maker can manipulate. The market maker can sell before it even hits they can sell in the same block as it happens. So the price doesn't get impacted. And then that builds investor confidence for 3 days so that more people pump in, and then the price starts pumping. And then, of course, it gets rugged. So that's not an uncommon thing from what I understand from some of these meme token launches and these market makers. How do you embrace something like the meme society and able to tell your people who aren't interested in necessarily decentralization or sound tech things, how do you differentiate these and say, look, here's what you need to look for when a meme token is launched, what's locked, what's unlocked, who holds all the tokens, that kind of thing. How do you do that education and that separation, so that you're not promoting meme tokens and everybody's getting wrecked, because they can't tell, as you said, the normal people can't tell the difference between frog with bat and frog with hat or something like that.
So first of all, I don't promote anything. If and when I talk about meme coin, I will only talk about that from a culture and adoption perspective. But I want
But you
to take
do have
it back.
influence whenever you speak about meme coins. What you say, people will think, okay, this is essentially somebody that I look up to that has knowledge of crypto, that has way more knowledge than I do, they would say. And they're talking about how, this meme project is doing this and this, even though you're not technically endorsing it to somebody who doesn't know any better, that could be an endorsement. So I'm just wondering how you would be careful with that, and how you take mindfulness in that matter and to educate more than promote those kind of things, I guess.
So I would approach it in a way as if I'm doing my own research and sharing my journey of research. And people can pick it apart and say, I don't think that's enough, right? I can look at what's the allocation, how much is in a team, how is it being vested, different aspects like that, sharing my line of thinking. And there are people that are smart that will point out the flaws in the thinking. So first of all, taking a step back, when you mentioned all these tactics, those tricks to manipulate the market, I would argue and ask questions. Is that only existing in meme coins?
No, it's not. Exactly. It sure
I'm sure
isn't.
meme coins making it easier,
Yep.
but this is an industry-wide thing.
You
And
got it.
then I would also come to that level of saying all the evils we see in crypto, is that because of crypto? I don't think so.
No,
All the evils
correct.
and crimes are human level. crypto is just one new arena these people can play. Same thing with meme coins. In that sense, it's no different that I talk about a GameFi project or a launchpad. Scammers be scamming. People need to learn. And
Yeah.
the best way to teach them is teach them to think for themselves by sharing the journey of my due diligence, sharing stories, and sharing different experiences and, failure stories as well. People, at least in my understanding, when I look at people in my Chinese community talking about meme coins, they don't talk about all those shilling and hype things. They actually do tend to give their own analysis and their own thinking. And to me, that's no different from how they analyze another project that's not a meme token. I'm happy to see people being able to think for themselves and give their reasoning. Maybe they're not perfect, maybe some are naive, but that's a great starting point. And why they're willing to do this level of due diligence, because they think meme coins are fun and they want to look into it. So that's a really good entryway or a gateway drug to lure people into thinking. If you tell them, okay, do this due diligence on this DeFi lending and borrowing protocol, versus do this on this silly sounding, whatever it is, animal, I get different responses. People are just more willing and interested in doing that.
Yeah. I gotcha. I gotcha.
And
And
I would say there's a gradient, and that's a reoccurring theme I see, especially in the Cardano community. Also for myself, being comfortable with gradients. Not everything is black and white.
true.
Being comfortable doing different tactics even. Like you don't need to go for Solana, right? But you don't need to go for purity fundamentalist. There's a good in between. People need to be enticed somehow, but how to do that responsibly, sustainably, that's a big challenge for everyone that's building a community and a strong brand.
That's very, Ergo faces the same challenge. Ergo has this tech kind of mantra, this tech atmosphere to uphold, and fundamentals of their manifesto to uphold. So you can see a lot of pushback when it comes to meme projects on Ergo and promoting meme projects on Ergo. A lot of people feel like it's diluting the message of Ergo and what it is, but then other people feel like, Ergo is an open source and permissionless environment. People can do whatever the hell they want, kind of thing.
Indeed.
So there's an interesting duality there in that aspect. I will say on your earlier comment there that I totally agree. Things exist, things from the fiat world come over to the scam world, come over to the crypto world. But the thing about the easy thing about the fiat world, the Web2 world, is that it's centralized. So a lot of these scams can be shut down and hidden from the view of the user utilizing the platform. Where on Web3, cryptocurrency, blockchains, there's no barrier usually, so it's really up to the community to come forward and do that. You can see in Cardano where with the semi-centralized token repository reporting, you'll get a token in your wallet, or the wallet manufacturer will do that, where you'll see a little scam icon across a token that gets airdropped to you. So those kind of things I think are important in the community. I think they can be done decentralized, of course, with like group GitHubs or those kind of things. But yeah, I think in the early stages, at least, of Web3 and crypto, we see the scams are much more prevalent because there's no one stopping them. There's no centralized entity to cut them off. So I think more and more community will step up, at least in Ergo as well, Cardano. We actually working on a proposal we got a really bad airdrop a couple weeks ago into the Ergo wallets of a really nasty picture NFT. So it kind of sparked people's decisions to be like, hey, let's lead a community effort to make a repository that then wallets can connect to and check a box that says I'm under 18 and I don't want to see anything that's marked or flagged. So we're working on that. But yeah, that is tricky.
I want to make a comment on what you just mentioned, right? In the decentralized ecosystem, you can't really try to dictate whatever everyone else does, but you do have the main, it's your roots. Your roots is in decentralization and doing things properly, but maybe some of the branches are different direction where you want it to be, and that's the beauty and the pain of having a decentralized system. And I would argue, like you said, those scams, distasteful behaviors, they are the growing pain of an open system. But we're not stopping there. For example, Catalyst, right? There was a lot of outcry about scammers in Catalyst. I think that's a good thing. We're not living in a vacuum and we don't have a nanny state. We are developing our own immune system. So what did we do? We have reviewers of reviewers, different watchdogs, different mechanisms to avoid things. And that's how the ecosystem grows. And that's how we have our own immunity. We're not counting on having a big government doing everything for us, but we have a grassroots movement of something went wrong, we fix it. Something else went wrong, we fix it. It's okay.
I love how you just compared that to immune system. I think that's a fantastic analogy. I agree. These crypto chains in this whole environment is born with, no immune system. So it slowly has to build and fight off that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a fantastic analogy. I'm going to steal it from you, but unfortunately it's on video. You came up with it first, so I'll copy you.
Every organization and person lives with some sort of disease. That's one of my realizations. Every single one. There is not one government, one company, one person that doesn't have some problem. You have to come to terms with that. And if you chase every single minute to eliminate every single problem, you're missing out on gains. So it's up to you to decide is the problem worth your time to completely eliminate, or you want to spend the energy going forward and do a sprint. It's always a balance.
All right, maybe the last topic if we have time. How do the chains like Ergo, Cardano, who are fundamentally here to create a monetary system of the people that's unstoppable, how did those platforms or platforms like us fight or stand up against the platforms that have so much money that they can pay PayPal to integrate their stablecoin into their chain, or they can pay for 75% of their transactions to be manufactured out of fluff? How do they compete with, as you said, some the plebes that come in and have very little idea of how cryptocurrency works, or what their fundamentals are, or what they should even look for in those kind of things?
Asking me $1 billion question without paying me $1 billion. Nice try. If I knew the answer perfectly, I
Thoughts
would
on that? What are your
probably
thoughts on
be
that? How
sitting at Cardano Foundation as
right,
the
right. Well,
But
what are your thoughts
I
on that?
have a few directions, right? First is to sort of challenge the premise. Why do we need to fight them? Is it true that we need to fight them?
Or
I
how do we
don't
stand up
yeah.
next to them, in a
Right.
comparison?
Maybe the question really is, how do you coexist with them for
Exactly. Yep.
so long that enough people realize they don't actually want it and they will voluntarily go to you?
Exactly.
Then the question is, do we want to spend our energy shit talking about others, or do we want to spend energy educating people on the benefits of
Well, I
this?
mean, shit talking is fun, but yeah, I gotcha.
Oh, it is. Everyone needs some level of guilty pleasure shit talking
Oh yeah,
calories, and
yeah.
I'm all for it. But and then the second question is, you mentioned paying their way. I think I know what you mean, but I would go a slight tangent and saying, I don't believe that paying for marketing is necessarily evil, depending on how you do it, of course. If you're just fluffing numbers, misleading people, we don't do that. But I'm not a purist when it comes to, we only want all organic, never paying anyone anything. I don't believe in that whatsoever. I believe many roads lead to Rome. If we can pay our way into big collaboration that is sustainable, that fits our narrative, people can get behind, why not? That's just a means to an end. Now, the third thing is survival. Surviving long enough that your competitors fuck up inevitably every day, especially in crypto, probably every minute. Someone is fucking up users' funds or soft rugging or rugging. And you're here building your own product, focusing on yourself, building some killer dApps. And I think if you can survive it long enough that everyone fucks up and people realize, you're going to have a good chunk of the pie. Maybe not the first number one, number two, but you're going to be very well off. I mean, take myself, for example. I build a small community, but it's very sustainable. I don't need 100K followers, but people who stay are extremely high quality and they're willing to voluntarily spread the word. Go tell their colleagues in Taiwan. People literally tell me that. So just focus, survive. And then if you really want to go to the next level, if you're sitting at that billion-dollar president position at a foundation, then perhaps look at the history. I'm sure history repeats itself. What's new emerging tech that happened in the past? Good companies versus bubbly companies. How did the good ones survive? Take some lessons from there.
I think that's fantastic. I'll cut you a check for $1 billion, Dumpling.
I just want Ergo. I'll be good.
All right. Well, speaking of Ergo, what is your give me your impression from somebody who primarily operates on Cardano. Give me your knee-jerk impression. If somebody were to come up to you at a conference and say, "Oh, you're at Cardano, that's Charles, I listen to Charles. I hear Charles mention Ergo once in a while, but I never looked into it. What is Ergo? What would you say?"
So the title of my Ergo video was the improved version of Bitcoin. And I mean, that is good clickbait. People
It
were
is.
going for it, and Chinese people were asking, what's this all about? I mean, that's the first impression tech-wise. My first impression is it's sound. And then the second impression is has some similarity to Cardano in terms of the community values and ethos, sort of like a little sister. We're doing things properly, community-driven, devs taking the driver's seat, driving the main adoption. Those are my main impressions. And the other impression sometimes I lurk on Reddit is people are usually asking, is this a good time to buy Ergo? Why is it not pumping? So the price, of course, we cannot neglect. And I do think that's one of the things that bothers the community.
Yeah, that's a unending question. When why are we dumping? Why is pumping? It's funny. You get that in chat a lot. I'm sure you get that in Cardano a lot. I see that on Twitter a ton. So many people focusing on that. But how do you do it? Okay. I think you only have a few minutes left before you have to go. So let you I'll do the readings myself. When I typically do them myself, I call it the ASMR dev update readings. We get really
I like that.
get really close to the mic and we give the dev update like this.
Please
Um,
give a shout out to the Chinese Ergo community. It's not huge, but there are people there.
That's fantastic. We have a Sigmanaut actually that Eva is their name.
Eva
And,
Ching, yeah, shout out to
Eva,
her.
yeah, you got it. So she's really good. She comes into the meetings every week and says, "Hey, I've translated these 4 articles. Here's what's going on in the Chinese community." So that was one of the efforts that we were going to do recently is along with kind of ranking important DApps that we really need to kickstart and make sure that they're very functional for people coming over. The other part was also to recognize what our community branches are and how to support those community branches. Because right now, the English version of Ergo Socials is in a bubble, right? There's a Turkish one, there's an Italian one, there's a Spanish one, there's a Chinese one that I have no idea about, or who's in them, or who's one of the leaders in them, or that kind of thing. So decentralization at its prime, but it'd be really nice to kind of have an organization of that, a mapping of that. I think we have a small one, but something more robust to where there's better communication between all of them. And we can focus and pivot together. So yeah, that is one of the big things. But Eva's fantastic. She's always on the ball. She or he, I'm actually not sure. I think it's she. Always on the ball with that for sure. Are they present in your Cardano community as well, Eva?
She's in the chat group.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. All right. Well, why don't we end with with you letting us know where people can find you if they want to chat with you, where your socials are, and that kind of thing.
So all my socials share the same handle, Bullish Dumpling, and bullish on crypto, and I love dumpling. So Bullish Dumpling, you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Telegram, and yeah, everywhere. So hit me
Fantastic.
up. Happy to chat.
And you love shrimp dumplings the most?
Not really. This one my artist made, I really like. They made some angry dumplings. If I'm going to a meeting to someone I don't like, I'll use that one. You're cool, so you get a shrimp one.
Oh, that's right. Do you like pixel art like that?
Yeah, it's quite cool.
Have you heard of I'm gonna pitch something. Have you heard of Cyberverse?
No,
Oh my goodness. Do you do any online Web3 gaming?
no, I don't game.
Okay, so this is perfect for you then. This appeals to both gamers and non-gamers. Do you like NFTs?
I collect NFTs and lose money on them, so yeah.
Of course. I mean, in a bull market, that's what you're doing. That's for sure. So Cyberverse is a mixture of that, where your actual things that you get in game or out of game are NFTs. In the wallet, they appear in game. Things you get in game appear in your wallet. It's pixel based, kind of top side perspective look down. Gives you that kind of nostalgic feeling. Well, you're probably too young for those games. uh,
I'll look
but
into it.
but it gives you this kind of in it's cross chain too, so it's Cardano and Ergo. You just need
Mm.
to connect your Cardano wallet and you can play for free essentially without even owning one of the character NFTs. But it's kind of like a pixel-based futuristic crafting game and social game where there are mini games inside it, like casinos, like driving, like fishing, like mining, all that kind of stuff. Super, super cool game. Check it out.
We should
It's
make some live streams where people are playing
we
it.
do we do. It's if you want to check it out, Kilver, Kilver. And I think the E is an Ergo Ergo Sigma symbol. He's on Twitter and he streams it every Saturday or Sunday. He streams it, so he's got a lot of recordings out of there too. I think if you go to the Sigmanaut YouTube as well, you'll see the live recordings that he's done there, and that's the Ergo
Who
Sigmanauts
is
YouTube.
Sigma Not? He's always popping up.
So Sigmanauts is a collective group of community members in Ergo. So it's a group that there are two components of the Sigmanauts group. There's a SigCan, which anybody can be. You can just ask in your SigCan. It doesn't come with voting rights. And then there's a Sigmanauts, which comes with voting rights and proposal creation capabilities. And you can sit on committees in the Sigmanauts. Sigmanauts have a treasury. It's not small. It's not big. It's probably worth about $50,000 now, but that's enough to help spur and lead community efforts and vote on things and make payments for things. It pays for the blue check mark on the Sigmanauts account. It pays for the blue check mark on the Ergo main platform account. It pays for the restream, essentially that broadcasts us to everybody. Pays for a lot of things like that, as well as help fund raffles. So big community effort. Right now, we're not in the infancy of it, but we're getting there. Right now, we're working on revenue streams to help sustain the SIGs well past the initial seed money that we have. One of them is we have a mining pool that's run by the Sigmanauts, which we collect the pool fee off that. So that's that's something. We're creating 2D apps, one right now, hopefully another one in the future, that will allow a revenue stream to come off that. The app we're making right now is we call it the Sigma Lock app. Essentially, it's kind of like a life insurance app or a transfer of funds app or just a hold and lock app for a certain amount of time. So essentially, you can lock up your funds and get an NFT from it and then give that NFT to your kid, and they can unlock it for another 30 years or 20 years. And then you can have also a fail safe in the back end. If they piss you off and you don't want them to be your kid anymore, you can then pull those funds back with the same wallet that you did it with. So there's lots of options for locking. We can use it for airdrops for tokens. If a project starts out and instead of doing like an IDO platform, you can create all these tokens that are time locked and hand the tokens out to people who buy the token, and then they can't unlock the actual token for another 6 months, so they can't dump it, kind of thing. So there's a ton of opportunities with this app that we're working with. So a revenue stream will come from that. But in short, that's what we're working for. We're trying to build up revenue streams so we can support Ergo better. But it's essentially a community collective. A guy named Ergo Minnow posts from that account, the Sigmanauts Twitter. I post from that account as well as a main account. So it's a collective.
I think these kind of things that are easy to understand and fun, like games, it's wonderful for adoption.
Yeah, I agree. These kind of things really need to be pushed more. Sometimes Ergo's guilty of coding too much with their heads down. We got to kind of lift up once in a while and reach out and let people know kindly and not egotistically what's out there and what we're doing and what people should see. But Dumpling, I really appreciate you coming on. I think that was a great talk. I would have talked to you for another 2 hours. I think there was so much more to unpack that I think we could talk about. But I think it was very informative, and it's going to be a big help and interesting listen for the Ergo community.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and a big shout out to the Ergo community. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Ciao.
Bye.
Well, thank you so much for Bullish Dumpling for joining me for that part of the dev update. There wasn't enough time, so I'm going to jump in and give you a little ASMR reading of the actual dev update. I want to thank everybody for participating in the Ergo hack that just ended well, last night. I'm finishing up this morning on Monday. A lot of really cool entries. Super cool to read them all when they come out and see all the details of the presentation. So looking forward to those videos made by the individual teams when those happen. All right, let's dive in. For starters, we have Kushti with Ergo Protocol and Reference Client Research and Development. Started unsigned BigInt implementation, and there is the GitHub for it. Done 256 BigInt construction in Ergo script for sure verification. Got into an issue with existing monomorphic EXP method of group element. Will continue after the Ergo hack. Yeah, the Ergo hack put a lot of things on delay for a lot of people. It's intense. Decode nbits implementation done. There's GitHub for it. For Ergo hack doing it, he did trustless Bitcoin relay and TX inclusion proof of validation. Contracts are mostly done at this point on Wednesday. Working on tests now. Messing with kiosk app kit versions mostly for now, and I believe he finished it from what I saw. Dexy extract to the future action is tested in the testnet, considering update possibly for intervention script. Documenting parameters chosen, etc. for mainnet launch. Cool. For Sigma from Morphic, refactoring of Sigma compiler PR to version 6 merged. Prepared PR with BigInt serialization checked. Finish implementation of numeric to big endian bytes for version 6. Fixed subconstants for version 6. Reviewed this pull right here, which is a Sigma state interpreter. Finishing costing of global serialize for version 6. Next up, finalizing existing PRs for review. And as you guys saw, maybe in chats, maybe you didn't, Kushti announced that a lot of his focus is going to be on version 6 until that's done. So chain cache kind of in the back burner until July, I think he said, unless he gets some devs to work on the chain cache server. But other than that, version 6 seems to be a big high priority. We got LowKeyNerd with BlitzTCG. Most of the Sky Harbor integration is done. Pack sale ongoing. Game updates continually happening. UI updates and card abilities are rolling out. Playtest this weekend. Oh, that should have happened. Awesome. I'm preparing for a large in real life move, so be a little bit missing in the coming weeks. Yeah, I wonder how that went. That'd be nice to see. I'm sorry that I missed it. Would have been nice to participate in. But yeah, if you don't have your Blitz packs yet, hop out there and grab them. I think it's from what I see, there's people that buy the packs too and are speculating, so they'll just hold the packs and not open them, which is pretty neat. We've got See It with CrystalPool. This is their Ergo hack project. It's a self-custodial real-time trading on L1 enabled by time-limited multi-sigs and signed transaction caching. Whew, it seems like a big task for Ergo hack. Created a simple trading web UI, minted fake Rosen BTC SIG USE tokens for testing, wrote a simple in-memory database for contract UTXOs, bootstrapped a simple JS server for pool service, some information on how I did that, refined our assumption about the need for transaction summary dialogues. Turns out the user does not need to check any transactions that he is signing, and the signing can happen in the background. Here are the reasons. First, the user always does something with a specific intent, like buy, button, click. An unassigned transaction is requested for that specific action from the pool service. The client code validates that transaction to make sure that transaction 100% represents the user intent. If the validation passes, the client signs it without user interaction. This enables part 1 of a secure, seamless experience. Otherwise, transaction is dismissed and the buy action fails. Part 2 of the seamless experience comes with a self-hosted interface. If an attacker manages to get access to the pool service, he can manipulate the served HTML JS client UI and completely disable transaction validation. But distributing the client as a native app will socket supply like Electron, but without the whole security mess. Ensures the user is always in full control of his funds. Interesting. There's a GitHub for it. If you have a feeling that something about this concept compromises your user security, please leave a comment. So he's inviting some comments on people who like to look into that stuff. All right, we've got Luivatra with Soon Crux. Found a bug creating some wrong records in the database, resulting in token positions showing wrong info in some cases. Root cause not found yet, but temp fix is just deleting the wrong records. Paideia improved the error logging for Paideia state so that repeated errors do not spam the log, but instead are stored in a separate file for each error with a repeat counter in the file name. This will help finding errors that happen often or errors that only happen once. The logs were quite spammy and hassles to search through, I bet. Opened up for DAO creation, that's a big one. Even though the intermittent bug has not been fixed yet, we'll keep an eye on it to see if it can be found in case if people are creating their DAOs. So this is really cool. You can go to Paideia right now and make a DAO, mint a token, bind it to the DAO, distribute the token, and have voting. I highly recommend you don't put too much of value into the DAO treasury that's built into Paideia for that DAO, just in case something breaks. You don't want your funds stuck in there forever for storage. I mean, yeah, if you want to donate to storage run on Ergo, go ahead, put a bunch of ergs in there. But do some testing first on small stuff. And when it pulls out of beta, then maybe feel a little more comfortable to dump in there. SIGs have put about 500 ergs in their treasury for Paideia and distributed it. We'll probably fill it up again, but just in little chunks, something that you can stand to lose. Remember, this is still beta, so don't... Oh, there we go. I should have read ahead. Continuing and finalizing the contracts and documentation. Good job, Luivatra. Reputation system, Jossemii added the Bitcoin network to the Sigma reputation panel interface, implement a server that connects to the Bitcoin RPC, similar to the ORD library of the original runes. Now I'm working on the validation part. Mark's given some Ergo Hack 8 updates. Luivatra's got a guide here. Let's see, anything else? We've got Canon with the field. It's a peer-to-peer pool pledging protocol where individuals can pledge assets to support a participant in a competition. The project will be DAO-driven and open source. MVP smart contracts are complete. No adjustments this week. DApp front-end UI integration is ongoing for MVP. Will be wrapped up soon. We will be shifting towards marketing after this week. Wow, they're really coming along. That's great. Awesome. All right, what else do we have? Oh, we've got deathgripson, analog ergo atomic swap, also another entry into the ergo hack. Swap state reloading on client side is mostly functional, needs more rigorous automated testing, but is passing manual test cases at the moment. UI interactions with REST APIs have been minimized so that state management can be completely handled on the back end, and UI can focus on pure representation of user-facing elements. Planning to work on price API integrations next, working on code refactoring next, better debugging and general project maintenance, and a little Ergo hack, Ergo BTC Lightning Atomic Swaps update. Currently working on ensuring testing environment for reg testnet BTC Lightning is sound and working properly and is also easily reproducible for future automated deployments. We'll be implementing a way to process Lightning invoice pre-images to use as a secret in Atomic Swap and integrating an Ergo contract compatible with a pre-image, with basic goal of proof of concept swap done from CLI. And I think he succeeded in what he was doing for Ergo Hack, so that's great. Let's see what else we have. Oh, we got a big update from Rosen. Louis allergic to JavaScript. That's no surprise. He's also allergic to greater than or equal signs. Inside joke, he'll get it. Rosen Bridge. Refactor address extractor to use the new abstract format. Utilities, they fixed a bug in the RPC Rosen data extractor for Bitcoin. The minimum fee, update minimum fee to only utilize the NFT, remove required address. The BTC launch test, they updated all packages and watcher and guard services and test the latest version with all sorts of events. Test system behavior with parallel events. For the Rosen app, they moved the XDeFi wallet logic from the main app to its own package. Make the function for calculating the maximum transferable value asynchronous. Resolve the bug related to the transfer of value becoming negative after clicking on the current balance. The Rosen Bridge Rosen app fixed a bug in using server functions to generate Bitcoin lock transaction. The EVM RPC, which they're working on, it's crazy. These guys are working parallel with these kind of things. While they're pushing the Bitcoin to get it out, they're still banging away on the EVM chains. EVM RPC network is implemented and is under review and test. They fix fetching assets, address assets, remove some redundant functions in abstract EVM network under review with EVM RPC. Rosen Bridge Rosen app, they upgraded to a new minimum fee package. They fixed the issue of Bitcoin PSBT inputs not being finalized. the asset calculator, finish locked assets calculation logic, start working on fixing Bitcoin issues in info and assets APIs for the guard services. For the scanner sync checked, added Bitcoin RPC check parameter. And for the keygen service, they wrote the keygen service to manage key generation ceremony, prepare a document for key generation ceremony on ECDSA. We are providing the requirements and thoroughly testing our documentation to ensure a smooth user experience upon the launch of Bitcoin. For the raffle, they completed inactive raffle and ticket repo contracts and documents, working on gift token repo and winner contracts for raffle version 2. Super cool. What else do we have here? And I think that is it. Missing a Cyberverse update today. I like to always mention them if I don't see them. I think they had some announcements on Twitter where they're looking for a big, they got a big announcement. They had an announcement of an announcement classic on Twitter where they're looking to get you excited about something. So looking forward to that. But also, yeah, thanks again to Bullish Dumpling. Look out for her on Twitter. I think that's where she's most active. She's got a loyal Chinese following as well. If you can join those groups and interact, that'd be great too. But please show your support. Thanks so much, everybody. Ciao.